Okay, you know how liberals conspire to work with fascists if it means thumbing their nose at socialists? We got another one, folks, over in France. As you may recall, when last we covered this shithole, the left had worked feverishly to block Le Pen from winning in the snap elections called by Macron, but they did not have such a majority that they could just instantly appoint a prime minister. Macron blocked their prime ministerial candidate and now seems interested in appointing Michel Barnier.
Let's bring you some breaking news. It's just been announced that Emmanuel Macron has appointed Michel Barnier as his new prime minister. This, of course, the European Union's former Brexit negotiator. He has been asked to form a new government. And this, it is hoped, will end weeks of deadlock. This after Emmanuel Macron called that snap election that delivered a hung parliament recently. We're just looking at Wire's copy here, this from Reuters, talking about the fact that Michel Barnier will have quite a challenge in this new role, pushing through reforms, the 2025 budget. And this, of course...
Yeah, so Macron blocked the left's pick for prime minister and put forward this guy, and the conservatives backed him, or at least did not vote against him, as I understand it. What do we have? The what are people's associations here? Left-wing leader Mélenchon said Macron naming Barnier meant the election had been stolen from the French. Seems like a great system of government. Yeah. 73 years old. Goddamn. Well, that's young in American politics, you know. Mélenchon. Barnier is a compromise candidate, said Moissy. He's a very seasoned, moderate, pro-European personality who supports NATO and Ukraine. He's a personality that is acceptable to the center and the right and will not be censored immediately by the extreme right. Yeah, so after the left overperformed in the snap elections that Macron called after losing to Le Pen in the EU elections, he has put forward a candidate who is good for the center and the right. Thank you, Macron. Just completely dedicated to securing a long-term loss to the far right in France. Absolutely fantastic. Maybe they could, I don't know, work with the left? Nah! Why would they do that?
I want to bring in France 24's European Affairs editor Armin Georgian, who can talk about that, his European credentials. Emmanuel Macron is a fierce defender of Europe, and so is Michel Barnier.
Yeah, and they were in close touch, actually, during the Brexit.
I think he might be an operative at this point, Russian money. I mean, Le Pen is literally in deep with Russian banks. So in terms of Russian influence on French elections, we know which side Russia has backed. Didn't they literally have an outstanding loan to a Russian bank for like 10 million euros?
Negotiations, they texted each other a lot, and it's pretty obvious, I think, that Macron appreciated how Barnier handled the British attempts to split the Europeans during the negotiations, because of course the British were trying to open separate lines of communication with the European Commission, with the Germans, and so forth. And so in a sense, Barnier really kept all that together. That's of course something that Macron appreciated. So even though Barnier has said some things about Emmanuel Macron that are not particularly what's the word, not very flattering,
yeah, Jesus Christ. But there is more to the relationship between Putin and Miss Le Pen than ideological convergence. Because of the National Front's racist and anti-Semitic past, French banks have declined to loan the party money. So Marine Le Pen has been forced to look elsewhere for financing. In 2014, the National Front took Russian loans worth 11 million euros. One of the loans, for 9 million, came from a small bank, First Czech Russian Bank, with links to the Kremlin. Cool. Again, 2014. Crimea. Remember? Some believe the $9 million loan, which was made later that year, was indeed a reward for Miss Le Pen's support over Crimea.
The fact is, you know, Macron must trust him enough from having known him for a long time, of course, and particularly during this period of Brexit talks, that Barnier really
I'm sure
kept.
this is all a coincidence. I can't wait. Okay, right now things are a little quiet. I can't wait for Hillary Clinton to tweet out something cringe, like, guess I was right about Russian interference all along, which, by the way, she was. Again, there was a whole Senate Intel committee about it, and the left makes it their mission to downplay it for the next few years. Even moderately reasonable leftists that I know still think that the Russian interference in the election bit is a punchline, when it's literally been proven so straightforwardly, like incredibly so. Just because resist libs are cringe in pointing it out doesn't mean that the underlying accusation is not correct.
Kept on track for several years.
I mean, considering that his name was not even in the running, Mark, let's bring you in, because Emmanuel Macron, when he dissolved parliament, he of course dissolved parliament in the aftermath of European elections where his party did quite badly. And then he said he wanted a government that was reflective of the mood at the time. Then we had the snap parliamentary vote. We all know the outcome of that vote. And now he goes and picks somebody from the right. If you're on the left of the political spectrum here in France, you must be up in arms, won't you?
They will be up in arms. Obviously, they are already reacting, obviously, negatively, because if you look at it, Michel Barnier hails from the Conservative Party. It's probably the worst performer in the last few years. I mean, they've lost the
Literally, like, it's such a violent spitting at the feet of the left when Macron has been losing ground election after election after election to Le Pen, lost even more ground, more than he even expected in the EU election, and then he calls a snap election, which the left saves, barely managing to keep Le Pen from taking control of the legislature. And how does Macron respond to this? With this so-called, like, respect for the mood at this moment in the French population? He outright rejects left candidates and just like, yeah, here's like a conservative. That's great, man.
Presidential election, the European elections, the legislative elections. They only have 50 or 60 MPs in parliament, which is really a very low number.
I'm telling you, Macron is definitely being paid as crazy. I mean, it's also just he's a liberal, right? Neoliberals have historically done this. This is not new behavior for liberals, though he does it pretty bad, you know?
They get the prime ministership. Well, yes, but it's a reflection of how fractured the new French political scene is. And Emmanuel Macron basically had a choice between center-left and center-right. And he felt probably that if the National Rally doesn't veto Michel Barnier is more or less in agreement with him on some of the key reforms Emmanuel Macron wants to...
Whoa, a stodgy conservative agrees with Macron on policy? That's great, and definitely not an indictment of Macron ostensibly being a centrist liberal. The most reasonable thing that could have been done here, the most reasonable thing that could have been done would have been to let the left put forward their candidate, to let it get voted down by all the liberals and right-leaning people, and then for Macron to work with the left and the moderates to have like a center-left or moderate-left candidate that they would have validated as PM. Someone left-leaning enough that they would have been approved by the left, but also that Macron's party could have signed off on. The problem is that that person would have inevitably been to the left of Macron. And Macron is willing to cede ground to the right, but he is not willing to cede ground to the left. That is the actual message here. That is the actual story. Macron is willing to negotiate with the right to secure a PM who is to his right, but he will not negotiate with the left to secure a PM who is to his left. Flat out, simple as.
Really make sure they stay, especially the pension system reform, because a leftist prime minister would have said, we abrogate your reform or we suspend it. Michel Barnier will not do so because, as is traditional for the Conservatives, he wants actually to push the retirement age, even said previously to 65. Now it's 64, so there won't be a problem with Emmanuel Macron. Europe, obviously.
Macron really wants the retirement age raised. By the way, I won't lie, I don't even necessarily have an issue with raising the concept of raising the retirement age, because back when the retirement age was initially put in place, to not live as long as they do today. However, it's being done in line with a broader policy of economic austerity. It's not like sensible economic policy, you know? Not everyone can work longer. Yeah, work should be better, you know? What, no work for real? Yes, work for real, I agree. However, you do need to work. Yeah, it's not like France can't afford to pay the pensions, they just don't want to. Yeah, it's more along the lines of like, there's a version of this that can work, but this ain't it.
There'll be no clouds on the horizon. The big question is what will he do in terms of the budget? Well, we can assume that he will not raise taxes, that he will say we need really to keep the budget, the debt, the deficit in line. So this is more or less what Emmanuel Macron has been advocating, especially since his re-election, a conservative policy. The big question will be how they will behave vis-a-vis one another. That's the personal factor, and no one has the answer for that because Emmanuel Macron is a lame duck.
Oh my God! In 2023, France pension reform, it's about 14% of their GDP pension spending. Of their GDP, not of their annual budget. How much is it? All right, I take it back. I'm with Macron. Sorry. I'm with Macron on raising the retirement age, but I am against him. They should have a left-leaning PM who gets rid of his reform because that's politics. If France wants to bankrupt itself, then it should be able to. Why are you with that? What the 62? F you, because I'm an American. Piece of shit. You got 83-year-old Walmart greeters over here in every Walmart. That's your retirement plan. 62. Ah oui. Now I get to spend the average last 21 years of my life enjoying red wine. Everyone must suffer. I am retired.
He cannot be reelected. He lost the election. He wants someone who will be there, maybe not too much of a challenger.
Yeah, 14% of the GDP is quite a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. That's quite a bit. Yeah, you know what? But so bankrupt yourself. I mean it. I'm not kidding. Macron should allow a left-leaning candidate to repeal the reforms, which will be popular, and it'll bankrupt the country. That's fine. Deal with it again in 5 years.
But Michel Barnier is maybe not so well known, but he's an experienced politician. He's old enough to make sure that he will be able to get some wiggle room to be able to be a real prime minister and not someone who pretends to be prime minister.
Oh, I didn't expect it to end right there. This is a 45-minute video.
The 7-week wait is over after France's youngest prime minister of the past century enter its oldest, Emmanuel Macron.
France may finally have a new prime minister. French President Emmanuel Macron appointed Michel Barnier, the European Union's former Brexit negotiator, to the role on Thursday, hoping to end the country's political paralysis after an inconclusive snap election in June left his centrist coalition losing dozens of seats and no party winning an absolute majority. A string of potential prime ministers have been considered.
It's that we have to work to live in the planet that we're born on. Don't think of it that way, okay? You can go live out in the forest and die if you want to. Everything that you get, that you take advantage of to enjoy and sustain your life, is built on the labor of others. Okay? This shit takes resources and people to make. Well, this one was probably made in a factory. I don't know. Whatever. You get the point. I think that, like, one of the issues is that we're kind of band-aiding the solutions that we need to think of when we're talking about questions like retirement. I think it would be a lot better if we reevaluated our relationship with work so that work wasn't work in the same way. Like, how do I put this? Work should be more necessary and more integrated. It should be done in a more healthy way with fewer hours. It should be less miserable. It should be more fulfilling. And we should probably streamline some of our economic processes to make it so that caring for boomers isn't extremely expensive. Like, why is it so expensive to care for a boomer, you know? Why is it so expensive to live? It's like, are you real? Okay, so how much does it cost to keep a boomer alive? I don't know, 15, 20,000 a year. I mean, it depends on where you are. Let's say 20,000 just as a ballpark. Let's just spit that out there. $20,000 a year. Why? Like what? Like what's costing that much? You know? Doesn't make any sense. Rent? Yeah, we should probably not charge people as much for rent. Healthcare? Yeah, but a lot of healthcare is really, really overpriced. We've talked about this before. You let private companies dictate how much they're going to charge you for blood work. Congratulations, you're paying $1,100 for them to spin a vial of your blood in a tube? Get out of here with that. What was I doing? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm 30 years old now, so anytime we talk about retirement, I have to spend 20 seconds staring into the void.
Considered in recent weeks, but none mustered enough support to guarantee a stable government, which was Macron's key criteria. As the hunt dragged on, public finances deteriorated, and now time is running out to prepare France's 2025 budget. Barnier will quickly face this particular baptism of fire, and if parties in the bitterly divided parliament are not satisfied with the budget, a vote of no confidence could be triggered. At 73, Barnier will be the oldest prime minister in France's modern political history, taking over from Gabriel Attal, who was the youngest. A staunch pro-European and a moderate career politician, he first became a lawmaker aged 27. Barnier held roles in several French governments, including foreign minister and agricultural minister, but is best known abroad for having led the EU's talks with Britain over its exit from the bloc from 2016 to 2021. Leaders of the far-right National Rally, Parliament's biggest single party, signalled on Thursday that the party would not immediately block Barnier, but could do so later if their demands were not met. The left-wing alliance that won June's election...
Le Pen and the National Rally don't even want the retirement age raised. 63% of the French population oppose raising the retirement age. Well, yeah, of course they do. By contrast, the left's proposal to cancel the law and go further by cutting the retirement age to 60 would cost an extra $58 billion by 2027 if it's put in place. Man, that is so nothing to the American government and so much to the French government. That's a lot of money, Dare Allen. Is it so much? Guys, come on, let's not do fake economic analysis here, okay? Yes, that is a lot of money. Money isn't completely fake, it's only half fake. Retirement has become such a huge narrative in France, no one even tries to be honest about it. Yeah, it's just populist shit. It's not. 58 billion is nothing to the French government, it's just a rounding error. Why would you say something that's so untrue? If you scale the French economy to the American economy, this would be more comparable to I don't know, $500 billion. Which is an extremely significant we're getting closer to our military budget, you know? And we got to spend that on tanks. Is that math real? It's spiritually real, which is what matters most. To be fair, there are no young people left in France. Yeah, what's the age look like over there? France, age chart, you know, I've seen worse. I mean, it's no China, but, you know. What's with this dip right here? Why is there such a big dip of people who are my age in France? Still not great, though, that it seems the mean age in France is 49. That's not great. Should look more like a cone. You want it to look like a, you know, have a nice even curve as much as possible. The dip of people around this age range, too, this is dire. The birth rates have really plummeted, huh? What does surplus mean? More men or more women at an age. There's almost always going to be a higher female surplus later in life because women live longer. Germany population pyramid. Oh, this is, yeah, from 2020. Look at this bump right here. It's not good, folks. It's not good. Can we find a country that has a healthy population curve? What's a healthy population curve? Don't Google South Korea's. It's just a diamond. Yeah. South Korea population pyramid. Lowest birth rates in the world. Yep, that is a pyramid. Good Lord. Dude, no one's getting born. No one's South Korea. Look at that shit. Oh my God. It's just a straight... Yeah, they're dying out. What about Poland? We don't need to do every country now. Poland's also looking pretty bad. The West truly has fallen. What's a good country with a healthy curve? America's actually pretty good on the decent side. Yeah, a lot of that is because we just have immigrants. We actually let immigrants in. Yeah, this is actually a pretty healthy population curve right here, or population pyramid in the United States. That's pretty close to a smooth curve, see? That's about what you want it to look like. What's up with the female surplus? Women live longer than men do. So past 50s, 60s, more men are going to die of heart disease. or suicide. But I've heard so much about a fertility crisis. I mean, it is a real issue in Western Europe. It's an issue in America, too. We just get a lot of immigrants. Why is there a male surplus for younger people? Not sure. It's not like we're doing femicide on the babies like in China or whatever. Why do we have more men? Oh, immigrants, of course. More immigrants from Latin America. It's mostly men who come in because the women are all bitches and don't want to swim across the Rio Grande. Demographics of Madagascar. Well, that is smooth. They're booming. How about India? Okay, now you guys just want me to look up every goddamn population pyramid, and I don't want to.